Alrighty guys, welcome back to another casted game of Stormgate. I am Ghost, welcome to Stormgate Central. This time, down in the bottom left here, we have LucifroN playing in the blue as the Vanguard. And up in the top right, he's fine, he's dandy, and he's also going to be playing as the Vanguard in the red trunks. So Vanguard versus Vanguard, not a matchup that we see every day these days. It seems like the ladder was dominated by Celestials, and then it's kind of been overtaken by Infernals. This is from the Aureil Stormgate tournament. So this was a 64-player tournament. Both of these players had to get through 3 best of 3s, single elimination here, so there was no loser's bracket. If they lost a best of 3, they would have been out. They've gotten through all 3 of those games to reach this quarterfinal, and this is going to be a best of 5. So very interested to see what we get out of these 2 players. LucifroN, of course, pretty well known, the brother of Vortex. His brother is actually top of the leaderboard currently. LucifroN is around rank 20 or so, I believe. So not quite the top, but definitely doing very well. Dandy, however, I'm not all too familiar with him. He's from Peru. So LucifroN and Vortex, they're both Spanish. Dandy's from Peru, but I've never really heard of him before. I haven't noticed him in any of the alpha tests or the beta tests. So unless he's like somebody under a different alias, that could also be the case. People change names all the time in this game at the moment. Yeah, but otherwise I don't really know exactly who he is. However, he's also around rank 20 on the leaderboard. So, you know, he's obviously no scrub. He's gotten this far in the tournament, you know, as of yet. However, if we go and take a look at the stats here, LucifroN has a win rate of about 68% versus Vanguard, whilst Dandy only has about 57%. So I would definitely favour LucifroN for this best of 5, but we'll see how this one goes. So the dog meta coming in strong here. Nice cancel there on the, I think that was a sentry post rather than, or maybe even a habitat. Whatever it was, it got cancelled, so nice play there by Dandy. He is really being a menace with these dogs right now. Where LucifroN's dogs are, I do not know. They've gotten lost somewhere out here on the map. Maybe he just hasn't really made any dogs yet. Maybe he's just going for lancers. I guess he actually is here, so that's kind of interesting. At the moment, the meta has kind of been for Vanguard to just get dogs, get out on the map, and start creeping, because they're just the best thing to creep. They do extra damage against light units, and once they get the Varillium Claws upgrade, they do even more light damage. And you can see right here, in fact, that Dandy has already gotten his central command out, and he is researching the Varillium Claws. Once he gets that, he's not only going to be able to creep much more effectively, but he's going to be able to get into LucifroN's base and just deal so much damage to these Bob workers here. Buzzsaw Cannon there in the natural and in the main, in fact, so that is going to be some pretty damn good defense. Kind of weird, though, honestly, to see LucifroN not go for the dogs, because, yeah, this is really just the meta. LucifroN, I don't think, has played as much as Dandy. If I go and check his stats, like, Dandy's got, like, 600 games. He has been playing this game like crazy. I don't know if... Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, the leaderboard was reset, right? So all of those games have been after early access, which is kind of mad to have played over 600 games, just as the Vanguard, by the way. Meanwhile, LucifroN has only played around 80 games or so. So, you know, much smaller amount. He's also been playing all of the previous alphas and betas, though. And like I said, he definitely is a good player. And he has a higher win rate in Vanguard versus Vanguard than Dandy does. So, do you favour the player who has the higher statistics overall? Or do you favour the player that's played more games? It seems that Dandy is maybe a little bit more in tune with exactly what the meta is here, though. So 3 Lancers out now for LucifroN, just going to be doing a little bit of light creeping down there. Where are Dandy's dogs at? There they are. Okay, Varillium Claws have now come into action. So you're going to see these dogs just absolutely start to rip through, especially these early creep monsters. And a single dog like that from LucifroN is just not going to be a challenge at all. 2 more barracks now going down in the natural for Dandy, so we're going to see if he's going to transition into Exos here. That is generally the play after you go for those dogs. And keeping the dogs alive, whilst you may not be using them as much in like the mid game, maybe you kind of transition into those Exos, keeping them alive is still incredibly important, because when your opponent gets Exos, then you can kind of get around behind them and do a lot of damage with those dogs, with the Varillium Claws, if you play your cards right. So the dog is going to escape there on a slither of health. I'm really counting down the days, guys, until we get health bars in replays. So instead of having to click on every unit and go, oh, I wonder how much health this unit has, we can just see it in game. I think it will really add a lot to the casted games because you can sort of see all of those smaller micro movements that the players are doing here. So Dandy right now is just taking all of the creep camps on the map. He can't fight these Lancers, right? These Lancers they don't really do heavy damage to dogs, but because they're heavy units and they've got heavy armor, even though the dogs have the Virilian Claws, they're not really going to deal with Lancers very well at all. So Dandy does not want to get into an engagement with those units, but they're so slow, he's just going to run away from them, right? He can just keep on running around the map, and he's going to get pretty much map control here fairly soon. I'm almost surprised that he's not making more use of these dogs, like they just sort of sat there. He's not out on the map creeping with them anywhere near as much as I'd like to see him. Even more racks coming out of Dandy here. What is he up to here? 4, 5. Central command is up. Okay. Bunch of exos coming out. Does he have a quick draw? No, he does not have quick draw hustle. There we go. Quick draw hustle has now started being researched. So once that gets out as well, Dandy is going to have quite a formidable army here. Meanwhile, though, LucifroN's got quite a few barracks of his own there. He's at 5 barracks as well. Doesn't have one in the main. And his quick draw hustle, okay, scratch that. He's just making one now in the main. Yeah, his upgrade is quite a bit ahead there. If we go and click between them, you can see Dandy's is a little bit behind. So I guess the fact that he's... Well, actually, if we think about Illuminate cost here, one dog cost 50, one Lancer cost 100. They've spent roughly the same amount of resources on those early game units, the Lancers and the dogs, as the other opponent has. So I'd say right now, they're looking fairly equal, except for the fact that LucifroN is obviously ahead in supply here. So I don't know what he did. Did he get more barracks out quicker? Maybe he got that 5th barracks up there a little bit faster. Maybe he got his expansion a little bit faster. But that means he's slowly going to snowball the macro game out of control unless Dandy actually does something. Again, I think if you're going to get Virilian Claws on the dogs, a few dogs now coming in for LucifroN here, but he does not want to take his engagement. There's no way he's going to win this when he knows the enemy dogs have the Virilian Claws. Yeah, if you're going to expand into that sort of tech early in the game, because bear in mind, you need the central command. It is quite a commitment, right? You have to go mine the Therium, you have to then upgrade the central command, build the biolab, and then get the upgrade. You better do something with the dogs. You know, even creeping out on the map is a great idea, but what I would have also liked to see him do is try to get some run-bys into LucifroN's base. I mean, I suppose he couldn't really do that because of the buzzsaw cannons. And at the very least, he made LucifroN commit to those sentry posts. But the thing about the Vanguard race is that they can salvage their buildings. So yes, once he's committing resources at the beginning of the game, it's not too much there. Now, big engagement coming out here. He does not want to be going down on the front of the army there with the dogs. He really wants to try and get a surround in the rear. All the dogs are going to get sniped here by LucifroN's exos. The dogs are going down. There's still a Lancer, a couple of Lancers, in fact, alive there at the front line. And Dandy's army is now starting to dwindle. LucifroN is still ahead in supply here. This is not looking too good, man. Yeah, that was not a great engagement for Dandy there. I really would have liked to see him just back off. You know, perhaps he was engaged when he wasn't ready. And now there's a couple more Lancers here coming to tank in the front. They're actually not really doing much, though. You can just see how quickly they get sniped. Exos do extra damage against heavy units like the Lancer, so they're very, very good against, you know, Brutes, Argents, Lancers, all of that early game stuff. Exo is just really an incredible unit across the board for everything. I don't think there's ever an engagement where I say, oh, I wish I didn't have 20 Lancers right now. They're just, like, one of the best units in the game. But both players here are going to disengage. So there are some more dogs coming out. He's continuing to make use of them since he's sort of teched into the research for them. That makes sense, I guess. But yeah, like I was saying before, that engagement, I would have liked to see Dandy try to disengage and then try to get behind those exos with the dogs there. You know, so use the exos to snipe off the Lancers at the front and then get the Virilian Claw dogs behind the Lancers, behind the exos and try to do some serious damage. They just deal with units so quickly. Like, once you start to get to this amount of exos, very, very scary death balls start coming out of the Vanguard. So there comes the scrapyard. I was talking about this in the last game. On this particular map, it's kind of hard if you're the Infernals, because if you want to get this Ethereum, you've got to build an extra shrine down there. It's just way too far away from this position. Whereas for the Vanguard, it's pretty nice. Ooh, Atlas is now coming out for LucifroN. This is going to be painful for Dandy. So the third's gone down here as well for him. And all of a sudden, this engagement has gotten so much more tricky for Dandy. What is he making back home? I think he's just fully committed on what he has. But he's actually not gone for a third expansion, which is pretty late, right? We're 11 minutes into the game here. We've only really had, like, one major engagement. Nice snipe here coming on the third of LucifroN, though. Is going to get all of those bobs. And probably take out the command post as well, because those exos just deal damage so fast. Big Atlas hit there on the exos, though. But he just can't engage this. This fight right now is being completely controlled by LucifroN. Two Atlases come out there. And what this is doing, really, is this is forcing him to move his units when he doesn't want to, right? He wants to be stutter stepping, and getting the maximum value out of these exos as he can. But every time these Atlases come down, and that big red circle appears, that says, no, 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 you've got to move those units back for quite a while. And while they're moving back, the exos here of LucifroN just move forward. And he gets a few extra hits. So he's slowly but surely... Whoops, what happened to my mouse there? He's starting to whittle down this army of Dandies here. And I just don't really see any way back here for Dandy. He's fallen in supply to half that of LucifroN's. The whole army is dead. I mean, there's a few dogs coming out here. The third has finally gone down. So, I mean, I will give Dandy this. He sniped the third of LucifroN. So, economically, like, I guess he's ahead. But there's a big push at his doorstep right now. There are Atlases. What is he going to do about this? He doesn't even have an army. There's a few dogs here killing some bobs on Ethereum, but that's not really going to matter. This is game, man. I'm afraid to say this one has LucifroN written all over it. And things are not so fine and dandy anymore for our red Vanguard player here. He's actually gone for a double Hangar Bay. That's kind of interesting. I guess he wants to get out some Atlases there to try and take down the dropships, but not a great choice against Exos either. Exos are just a hard unit to counter. They're just really good. They're really, really good against everything. The last Exos are going to go down here. And I think, yeah, there we go. Dandy has GG'd out of this one. Game number 1 is going to go to LucifroN. Alrighty, moving on to game number 2. This one is going to be on Lost Hope. So we've got Dandy spawning up here in the north. And LucifroN down in the south. So this is sort of, yeah, top to bottom spawns here. LucifroN looks like he's actually scouting in the right direction. This is strange, though. Why is Dandy scouting here? I don't think he knows that on this particular map, you can only spawn... So let's say you're Dandy right now. There's only 2 places that LucifroN can spawn. He can spawn below you, or he can spawn cross spawns. You can't spawn to the east or west. And, yeah, I think Dandy just actually doesn't know that, which is kind of funny, considering the fact that he's played like 600 games or so. I'm trying to figure this out. It's really weird he doesn't know that, but there's no other reason I can see that he would have gone and scouted over there. Nevertheless, he is going to find LucifroN here, and it is that early in the game that it's, you know, it's not going to matter too much. We're seeing the same sort of thing out of LucifroN, going for those Lancers, and Dandy going for his dogs. The Dandy dogs. So a little bit of dog eats dog action here. So this is just the initial scouting dog for LucifroN. It doesn't really matter if he loses that too much. Oh, he has actually made a secondary dog, though. So I guess we'll see what he does with that one. Wait a minute. He's actually making... Take it back, guys. I guess he's not going Lancers. He's actually going to go into dogs as well. But he was making a Lancer, right? Did that Lancer... I don't think it died. I think he must have cancelled the Lancer and decided to go into dogs. So, judging by the 3 bombs on the Therium, we can see that... Yeah, there we go. There comes the command post. And as soon as this is done, or before it's done, in fact, he's going to be throwing down the Biolab and going for the Beryllium Claws. So right now, LucifroN's sort of trying to shut down Dandy on his own doorstep before things get too out of control. Let's quickly check back home. Command post is still out for LucifroN. So, yeah, he is on the Therium here, but he's got so... Excuse me. He's got so many bombs on there. I feel like LucifroN was just going to automatically go into his regular Lancer play, but then he went, no, actually, I'm going to go dogs, and he kind of changed at the last second, and that's why now he's sort of scrambling to get... Yeah, there comes the Biolab. There comes the Central Command, but meanwhile, Central Command is already done. The Biolab is up there, and there we go. Beryllium Claws is already on the way for Dandy, so I think as long as Dandy just keeps on pumping out dogs here, he doesn't take any stupid fights, he doesn't lose a lot of dogs, because if he can manage to get a scout off of LucifroN and he realizes, okay, he's way behind on Beryllium Claws, he can just not take an engagement with LucifroN until he has the Beryllium Claws and then take one in his favor. Believe me, taking a fight against dogs that don't have Beryllium Claws when yours do, it's just absolute night and day. So LucifroN thinks better of it here. He's just going to go out across the map. Slightly ahead in supply here, so he has gained something. He is on 2 racks to Dandy's 1. So, you know, Dandy going for that early command post and the early upgrade, that's definitely cost him in terms of units. But what I'd like to see him doing here as well is actually going out on the map and getting as many of these towers as possible. You know, maybe send 1 unit... Oh, there's the Lancer. There he is. So maybe don't send 1 there because it's going to die to the Lancer. But maybe send 1 here. Maybe send, like, 1 there. Try and take as many of these camps as possible, especially the speed and the health camps, because that's really going to help you out with your engagement once Beryllium Claws are out. And they are now out, guys. So 3 racks now coming down for Dandy. Still only 2 for LucifroN. And you can see these supply differences have started to shrink somewhat here. LucifroN's still, you know, very slightly ahead. That Lancer has decided he wants to come out and play catch. But these dogs don't intend on doing that at all. And they are going to take it down. Or not. Big engagement now coming out. So Beryllium Claws have done for both of them. LucifroN says, okay, my claws are out now as well. Let's just go for the engagement. Some really nice micro coming out of both. Oh, 3 dogs left there, not doing anything though. It is actually very, very hard to control the dogs and make sure that they go on the targets that you want them to go on. Both players with some lovely micro there, pretty much coming out equal. Even Stevens. Maybe a couple more dogs there for LucifroN than for Dandy. And interestingly, things have kind of just stabilized for both players. So they're now on, I would say, very equal bases. They've got 3 racks. They've got the dogs. They've got the Beryllium Claws. LucifroN looks like he's gearing up to take an expansion, though, here. So Dandy is going to have to do likewise if he wants to stay in this game. Again, I kind of feel like Dandy goes for these early Beryllium Claws, but then he just doesn't really do that much with them. When he has that advantage, he's not really going crazy all over the map taking these towers that LucifroN was holding, because LucifroN can't contend them. He can't attest them when, you know, he doesn't have the claws, right? Ooh, difficult fight to take there. You know, if you get caught in a bad position in there with the dogs, you can just lose that so easily. And LucifroN knows that, so he keeps going back to that tower there. He better hope that Lancer does not get in that sentry post or any bobs around there to defend it. But LucifroN is going to come in here with his dogs, and he needs to make sure that all of his dogs are ready to tackle them. So he has to let off of the sentry post there and think better of it. I like the decision to back off here. That was definitely not a good idea to go into LucifroN's dogs. Well, what is happening there? But he really, at the same time, needs to shut down this expansion. So maybe he can get the snipe on the command post, trying to get a run by into the main here. Taking a couple of hits, though, from the buzzsaw cannon. And just a bunch of dogs flood into the main. The overcharge is going to have to come down here for LucifroN. Does he have it? Oh, he doesn't have overcharge. Oh, boy. Okay, he's going to have to pull all the Bob workers. And now all of these dogs have some great surrounds on the habitats. It's really on dog versus dog. It's all about the surface area. It's all about getting these great surrounds. And sometimes the AI, you know, the pathing and whatnot can be a little bit finicky in this game. Definitely is going to see some improvements over time. But LucifroN's kind of screwed himself over with his own SimCity in a way. Whereby, because Dandy's now gotten in, he can't engage through these buildings or up this ramp. Because he's going to get such a better concave on LucifroN's army. Okay, the Lancer has now been surrounded, but Lancers are just so super tanky against the dogs. I mean, look at this guy. He's still alive. He just doesn't even care. And this is basically keeping 5-6 dogs occupied. And it's still alive. I would say that was actually a worthwhile trade there, because whilst those dogs were occupied going for the Lancers, LucifroN actually took some pretty nice trades there with his own dogs. Oh, you do not want to go into that buzzsaw cannon. More dogs now coming in here to the natural. So he really, really, really wants to get some of those bobs. A couple more Lancers coming out. I do like the tech switch here from LucifroN. He's figured out, okay, you know, these Lancers, that first Lancer did pretty well there. Allowed me to get a few dogs picked off. So maybe we'll build a couple more. But his dog numbers are also wearing thin. And there are even more dogs now coming into the natural. No Bob overcharge here. They've even got speed on them. So a lot of Bobs are going to go down. He's going to have to target, nice targeting there by him. All of the Bobs don't get automatically targeted. They actually automatically target the Lancers and the army units. So you have to manually target Bobs if you want them to attack that. You can't just like A-move. That Lancer's in quite a nice position there. I like this from LucifroN. Not getting a great surround. Only a few dogs there attacking it. A few dags. And I think Dandy has now been forced to back off. But just look at how many dogs he has. He's been pumping out dogs like a madman. This is... I mean, this is not even a pack of dogs. I don't know what you call something larger than a pack of dogs. I don't really think swarm is the right word. But for lack of a better word, it's a swarm of dogs, guys. But he's really gone all in on that attack. I think he actually needed to kill LucifroN there, because now he's going, okay, I'll go and expand myself. But LucifroN expanded ages ago. And yeah, okay, you know, he lost some workers, that's fair to say. He's only got 2 in the main. It's kind of hard to see. More dogs actually coming in now, so he really wants to get some picks on the workers and trying to equalize his footing in this game economically, because he knows he is so behind with that expansion. The thing is, though, LucifroN's had both of these command posts up for a while. But actually, I would maybe just slightly give an edge here to Dandy. You know, he's got 3 Bobs there. He's got 4 in the Therium in the main. Oh, sorry, missed this. The swarm of dogs has arrived. Getting even more picks on the Bob. So, interestingly, the number of dogs has gotten so high here that they just don't care about this buzzsaw cannon. They're not going to try and go for it. They're not going to try and kill it. They just don't care about it. He has so many, he can just go and target down the Bobs. And yeah, he's going to lose some to the cannon. But so what? If LucifroN continues to bleed workers this way, he's going to go on to lose this game. Now, this is kind of interesting. Hangar Bay here coming out for him. But, I mean, we don't see a mech bay or anything like that, so it's not going to be the same Atlas play. Now, the Lancer numbers are also growing a lot here, so once they start to get so high, even more Lancers coming out, there's not really a lot you can do. Like, you can't target them down if they're all together. They're just going to kill too many of your dogs. It isn't worth the trade. Some more really nice picks there on the Bobs, though, by Dandy. Oh my god, is he going to finish off the remaining Bobs? Dude. So many Bobs. These 3 Bobs here just drastically trying to cling on. They're like, don't let go of me. Don't let me go, man. Keep me healed. There are a bunch of Bobs in the main, though, so, you know, LucifroN's kind of managed to recoup his losses somewhat, but just look at Dandy. He's like almost saturated on both bases here. Okay, Exos, finally guys. He's decided to transition to something other than dogs. Exo's now coming out for him. The dog's still trying to poke into the natural here and get some more Bob kills. This must be so infuriating for LucifroN. Just never-ending attacks. I think it probably would have been worth it for him to build another buzzsaw cannon there. You know, they've... Okay, LucifroN just leaves the game. He says, screw this, I've lost too many workers. GG's. And Dandy is going to equalize here, bringing it up to 1-1. Alright, so here we are on Isle of Dread. And finally, this best of 5 has some life in it, guys. 1-1 here, so everything to play for both of these players. Barracks coming down. Now, I'm very interested to see what LucifroN is going to do. Is he going to go for Lancers again from the get-go? Or does... Excuse me, does he want to go into those dogs? Okay, so there's a dog straight away coming out here. I also noticed a little change here that Dandy, or not a change, I guess, but a difference between the two players. Dandy seems to build his barracks a little bit later. So the second dog is going to be coming out for LucifroN here ever so quicker than Dandy's. But this map, you know, it's not like the biggest map in the game. Also not the smallest map, so it's fairly sized. It's not a massive amount of ground for these dogs to cover, though, because they are so fast. So the dog meta continues, guys. I know a lot of people are kind of bored of this. Whenever they play against the Vanguard or as the Vanguard, this seems to just be like the only thing that people do. They just spam dogs to take those early creep camps. And I think a lot of us would have liked to see that addressed in the recent patch 0.02. But alas, Stormgate wants to, or Frost Giant want to kind of keep an eye on this and see how it plays out. You know, it's kind of understandable as well though, right? Because as soon as you change a unit, well, it kind of has a knock-on effect on the entire game. So, you know, I think Frost Giant in general have been pretty quick changing things up here and paying attention to the meta and the way that it's unfolding. So LucifroN's dogs are going to get chased off here. Dandy taking a slight advantage. Central Command now just starting for LucifroN and a little bit further ahead for Dandy. So once again here, it seems that whilst LucifroN gets out the earlier racks, gets more units, that's probably why he ends up with a little bit of a head start, I guess, in terms of supply. Dandy's build is just so much faster. Like, he's getting those Varillion Claws up quicker. So the Biolab's coming up now. Let's just check this timing for him. So Central Command just finished. The Biolab's a little bit late. He does have the Therium for it, I believe. I think it's only like 50 Therium to actually get the upgrade. Who's going to win the Varillion Claws race? It's going to be Dandy. GG's. Unlucky LucifroN. Okay, so right now we've got a single health camp. Again, I kind of like to see them doing some even more creeping here. I feel like they just sort of take like 1 or 2 towers and then that's it. Whereas a lot of players who really, really like to get on top of their creeping, they just go and take every single tower on the map. They're sending fiends, they're sending dogs to everyone. On the flip side though, I suppose you don't want to thin the herd or thin the pack of dogs here too much by sending each one to a various tower to sort of defend it, because then you end up with no dogs to actually fight the enemy dogs. So Dandy now taking his 3rd tower here, getting lots of juicy Luminite. 3 racks coming out for him, just like in the last game. Varillion Claws are done. 4 racks for LucifroN. So this is kind of interesting. I like the fact that they're both doing the general same thing with the dogs, but they've got their own ways of going about it. You know, there are all these little intricate differences. The earlier racks for LucifroN, the earlier upgrades for Dandy, 4 racks versus 3 racks. It's really, really interesting to see this. Or, you know, as interesting as dog versus dog can get, as there's a massive conga line of dogs going across the map there. Yeah, one of the things I saw actually Hero Marine talking about recently in a YouTube video, he sort of wanted to give some feedback on the game. In general, he said he's enjoying Stormgate. Hold that thought, guys. Big fight coming in here. Virillion Claws. Are they done for LucifroN? They are done for both players here. So this is fairly equal fight. Supply is dead equal, in fact, right now. 37 all. So let's see. Oh, nice pullback there. Really nice little bits of micro going down here. Getting some great surrounds. So if you can manage to get a surround on one of the dogs, and LucifroN actually takes that very successfully. 10 supply now ahead of Dandy. So I guess he killed like 10 more dogs. That's pretty impressive. So yeah, one of the things Hero Marine was pointing out is that the dogs, when they attack, they have an animation. So unlike the Fiends and stuff like Zerglings, these quicker units from, you know, StarCraft, when they attack, as soon as they reach the target, they pretty much do their attack and then you can pull them back and micro them back. With the dogs, that is not the case. So they actually have like a small animation of them biting the enemy that has to play out. And so it is very, very difficult to micro them, in fact. Because if you pull them back too early and the animation doesn't finish, then they simply won't do any damage. So you can get into this bad habit, let's call it, of pulling them back way too early and then you just never really get any damage off. So is LucifroN going to take another decisive fight? LucifroN has the numbers here, man. I mean, I'm not that quick at counting, guys, but it looks like there's more blue here than there is red to me. Ever so slightly. The spearhead of dogs is coming. I really like the random formations here. It's like they're synchronized swimming again. Making all different kinds of shapes and patterns. So Dandy's trying to just come in here for a few quick bites, back off again. The concave for LucifroN is way too strong here, man, and all of Dandy's dogs are going to go down. The supply falls and Dandy leaves the game. GG, LucifroN going to take it up to 2-1. Alright guys, welcome back to round 4 of Dog Wars. No, just kidding. But we are playing on Titan's Causeway here. So, a very interesting map. This is one of the maps in Stormgate that has seen, I would say, the most amount of various iterations to it. It was one of the worst maps, honestly, when the game first, well, not when it launched, but when it was like an early access. But you've now got this single Luminite tower here in the middle, surrounded by trees, so if you want to get that, you do have to send like a worker up there, or a Magmadon or something. And then you've got trees here, and then you also have these trees there. So if you want to attack your enemy, you need to go all the way around the map. Not exactly ideal for somebody who likes to rush with dogs like Dandy. Now the question is, are we going to see anything except dogs this game? Dogs rather. I think the answer is no, guys. I would love to see Exo play. In fact, the first game was kind of the most interesting. We saw Exos on both sides. We even saw Atlas coming out of LucifroN. But 4 dogs at the moment on the way for Dandy. We see the Bobs here on Therium, signifying that we are going to be seeing that central command coming up pretty soon. And straight after that, the Biolab and the Virillion Claws. And the same thing here coming out of Mr. LucifroN. So yeah, game number 2, we just had a dog-on-dog war. Game number 3, same thing happened. Actually, game number 2, we did see Exos come out for Dandy. To be fair, he just didn't have to use them because LucifroN lost the game after having lost way too many workers. So I guess, you know, both players at the moment feel somewhat like they're on equal footing, right? You know, they've each won a game to start with, and then LucifroN makes it 2-1. So I guess that neither of them feel like they need to change tactic here and go for something new. Basically, LucifroN just out-microed, I feel, in the last game. You know, the dogs, they really had equal supply there. He just came out of that first engagement better, and that's the reason why he won the game, right? And then the second engagement was a no-brainer because he had way more dogs than Dandy did. So right now, I think if you're Dandy, you're thinking, okay, I'm 1 game down, but I just lost that last game because I didn't micro well. So he's going to go for the same build here and see if he can micro a little bit better, I guess. Now, once again, we are seeing... Oh, I like this. So he's increasing the rate, or I guess decreasing the research time of this upgrade with the solar habitat. So you know, great use of the central command. You do need the central command to get solar habitats. And so if you've got it, you may as well use it. And that's actually going to put LucifroN... Wow, look how fast this is. Like, check out this progress bar right here. Keep an eye on that. And then let's switch to Dandy's. Look how much... I think it's 50%, guys, that it gives you there. So that is pretty significant. Because LucifroN likes to open with that earlier racks, he's actually going to have a few more dogs out on the battlefield here. So 3 racks actually just finishing up for each player. Well, when I say that, I mean they're both 27 apiece here in terms of supply, so maybe he doesn't have any more dogs. Let's see, how many dogs is that, guys? Who's quick at counting versus this? I'd say they're on pretty equal footing. So Virulent Claws is done, and it's also done for Dandy as well. So I guess that little trick didn't really matter too much. Here comes the engagement. Now, who is going to be able to micro better here? Oh! It's like a game of cat and mouse, isn't it? It's like, who wants to strike first? Dandy actually getting a fairly nice concave there to begin with. I think Dandy's getting this one. Yeah, man, that was pretty sweet. He got a really nice concave there on the left. LucifroN actually coming in with a few reinforcement dogs and equaling it out here. So we've got 5 on 5 at the moment. But the speed is really helping Dandy a lot here. I mean, this is just neck and neck. We've got 3 versus 3 now. No, 4 versus 4. Both these players here losing and gaining dogs at equal speeds. But Dandy, of course, he has to send his dogs all the way across the map. Like I was talking about earlier, they've got to run all this distance around. So there's no way that he can keep that up defending, or with LucifroN defending here straight from home. And the 4th Rax is now out, so just like we saw in the last game, LucifroN likes to do this apparently off of 1 base. Just go 4 Rax dogs. So he is going to come out ahead pretty soon, unless Dandy cottons onto this. I don't think either of the players managed to go and look at replays, you know, between games. I think they just make the next game and jump straight into it, so he can't go and see what he's been doing. I don't think he's really been scouting them that much, because once the engagements begin, then you're concentrating on that, and once you win the engagements, you just generally win the game. Oh, that's a pretty nice surround, though, there for Dandy. Getting a couple of nice kills on LucifroN's dogs. But both players staying... Oh, wait, actually, Dandy a little bit ahead on supply here. A little bit. Not much. But it's one of the first times I think we've seen him ahead on supply. So that's pretty big for him. But again, man, still just on the 3 ranks. And with these kind of games, if you can't come out and decisively just win the fight, kill all of the enemy's dogs, and then get in the base and... Oh, could be a nice surround here coming from LucifroN. These dogs are going to get chased down if the others don't enjoy it. Oh, is Dandy going to get trapped there? This is kind of dangerous. Okay, LucifroN magically happens to escape. I don't know how he pulled that off, but he got his dogs up the ramp there without Dandy capitalizing. But Dandy is actually ahead in terms of dog numbers here. The dog wars continue, guys. But neither player has really taken a decisive enough fight right now to just, you know, make the other one quit or get into your base and do some damage. I think if you really commit and go into their base, that's when they can surround you, and it can turn out pretty bad. But Dandy's going to go ahead and do this here. Going to snipe off the solar habitat there. That's a nice choice of target. That one is actually worth 200 Luminite instead of the 100. But a big surround is coming here from LucifroN, and he wants to push Dandy up against the edge of the cliff. He wants to push him over the edge, just like in 300. But I actually don't think he's going to be able to. The numbers are looking like it's going to Dandy, and Dandy, looking pretty decisive here, takes game number 4. Well, you know what they say, guys. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll stop. So we got LucifroN down here in the bottom left on the secluded grove. Dandy up in the top right. And the only question here, once again, is are we going to see anything except for dogs? 2-2 here, guys. So I think, again, both players are in a similar position. They both feel like they could win with this specific strategy. The question is there really any other strategy? You know, if your opponent goes for dogs, Well, like, what do you do if you don't go for dogs? Okay, yes, you can go for lancers, like LucifroN did in the first game, and even though he did win that overall, you know, I still don't think it's a great answer, because the dogs are just going to run rings around you. If you move out of your base to creep with the lancers, the dogs come in your base. If you don't move out and creep, then the enemy just takes all of the towers with their dogs, and you lose the game because they just out-macro you. So what can you really do? I guess you could go for fast exos, but again, dogs eat exos for breakfast, especially with Varillion Claws. And, you know, in the early game, if the enemy has like 6 to 8 dogs and you've got like 2 exos, that's not going to turn out well for you at all. That is to say, if you have the exos. But no, it looks like we have the exact same build here. At least I think so. LucifroN is going to... Yep, he's going straight onto the Therium there with those, so we are going to be seeing those central commands coming up pretty soon again. I do wonder if LucifroN is going to go for the solar habitat. Like, I think that both players are doing things, nice little surround there, and want to... Oh, wait, no, he's got away. He's gotten away. 16 health. He's looking for a flower. He needs a flower. For anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, there are these flowers on the map. There we go, he's found one, and they will heal you. Just look at the heal on that. Straight up to full health. So really, really nice usage of that. Especially early game when you've only got a few dogs. Another 5-on-5 brawl in the middle of the map here. Oh, 2 of them breaking off there. I don't really fancy the odds there over 2-on-4. Okay, they thought better of it. They rejoined the pack. And they are chasing down LucifroN's dog as he also looks for a flower himself. Really nice micro play here, just hunting down these flowers on the map, guys. There are a few maps in Stormgate that have these little flowers, and I have to say, I think that's actually a really, really nice addition. Just adds a little bit of extra flavor to the micro that's available. Sometimes they can be a little bit too good, like we saw that with the Vector micro. People doing proxy Vector as the Celestials. Once they've taken damage on the first Vector, they just go and eat a flower, heal right back up again. So that was pretty good. Okay, Varillion Claws is... Yeah, it started a little bit earlier for Dandy, but once again, LucifroN has that solar habitat. But, you know, like I was saying earlier, I feel like both players are sort of trying to get out the Varillion Claws as early as possible, and in this case, you know, LucifroN's gone for an upgrade here, which isn't really the best investment because it costs 100 Luminite, and it's really only there to boost the biokinetic slap. I mean, okay, yeah, I guess you can boost the production speed of one of your barracks as well afterwards. But it's quite an investment because it's 100 Luminite and it doesn't give you anywhere near as much supply as just building a regular habitat. But neither player seems to be actually doing anything with this advantage. Like, when one of them gets the Varillion Claws a little bit early, they're not actually going and taking the fight with the enemy. Or going and taking a bunch of creep camps or anything like that. I guess to some degree it's just because they don't really know when the enemy's got Varillion Claws coming, so they perhaps just assume, okay, if I have claws, then he's got to have them as well. So upgrades, yeah. Upgrades are done for both of them here. The triple racks there, coming out for Dandy. And in the past couple of games, ooh, LucifroN is going to come in here as Dandy's creeping, though, and try and get some kills on his dogs. He's a little bit ahead on supply here, so I think the dog numbers certainly favour LucifroN, but actually, Dandy seems to be turning this one around. Now coming in with some reinforcements, and he pushes LucifroN back. Past couple of games, we've been seeing LucifroN go for this 4 racks play, but he didn't win the last game, did he? You know, he went up against 3 racks, as we see Dandy doing here. So, I don't know, maybe 4 racks isn't the play. I wonder why he's still... Oh, he's actually going for medtechs. Now, that is an interesting move. So, in case you're wondering, these actually cannot heal the dogs because the dogs are not biological units. They're actually, as it shows you down there, they are mechanical units. They're sort of like robot dogs, even though I know they don't really look like it very much. They're some sort of cyber dogs. So, the medtechs can't directly heal them, but if he gets Nano Swarm, he can drop that and it will do like an AoE heal on one target. Oh my god, that was a pretty bad the surround there, I think, for LucifroN. Oh my god, all of his dogs are trapped here. 4 of them can't get through. Oh, LucifroN. Oh, dude, this is not good at all. The Nano Swarm does come down there on one of the dogs, but I'm not sure this is going to matter. There's too many dogs coming in here for Dandy. And again, the Sim City is almost working more against LucifroN here than it is against Dandy. And he's just picking off the dogs as soon as they come out of the barracks. This is absolutely beautiful here from Dandy. Yeah, there's just nothing LucifroN can really do. He's right up in his face. As soon as the dog comes out, it gets surrounded and killed. And Dandy is just picking off everything. GG gets called. He is going to take this series 3 games to 2. Well played to him. Oh, poor LucifroN, man. I kind of feel like he got unlucky there. Like I said, you know, if there are too many obstacles in the way, there isn't really enough room to fight dog on dog. It can get a little bit messy, and sometimes you find that you are in the worst position in terms of surround and concaves and all that kind of stuff. But both players, really great series here. Pity we only saw anything other than dogs like once, but I guess that's just how it goes in the current meta. In any case, guys, if you enjoyed the cast here on the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Plenty more Stormgate to come out of me here in the future. Thank you for watching today. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next video.